Learn faster, deeper, and smarter. This is Hypinion with Q. Few days ago, Canadian government has updated travel advice which has added more detail regarding the Xinjiang region, warning that Chinese authorities are increasingly detaining ethnic and Muslim minorities in the region without due process. In late March, Canadian government announced it is imposing new sanctions against Chinese officials and entities, claiming that these measures are being taken in coordination with the US and the UK and in solidarity with the EU. Radhika Desai, professor at the Department of Political Studies, said in a recent interview with Hypinion that Canada has subordinated to the US, which is actually badly affecting Canada's own institutions.
Of course, being led from the United States, although important institutions in countries like Canada that have historically allied with the United States, and some would even say have subordinated themselves to the United States in terms of foreign policy, are also playing a leading role. And it is very shocking that that Canadian parliamentarians who are so proud of belonging to a country where there is rule of law, etc., they have ended up making extremely serious allegations by listening to a very partial set of sources without asking Chinese officials. So essentially, and today we have a very bad situation in Canada, because essentially they are censoring anyone who questions the narrative that they have created around genocide in Xinjiang. And instead of saying, to people who disagree, well, what is your evidence? They simply try to silence them. A retired judge in British Columbia, who is, I think, of Chinese origin, his name is Bill Yi, challenged some of these claims, and he just said, this is nonsense, this is not true. And the reaction was not to say, why would somebody as respected as a retired judge believe that, who has served the Canadian system very well, who has been in positions of, power and prestige, why would he think that? They did not ask him. There was a public demand to simply make sure he never held any important position again. So it's a type of censorship. And so these are the people who are banging their chests about how we live in a country with a free press and freedom of speech and so on and so forth. And so in a certain sense, this desire to attack China is actually badly affecting Canada's own institutions. What we see regularly in the West is that, of course, we all have free speech rights and right to vote and all those things. But if you look at free speech, a small number of rich oligarchs, let's call them what they are oligarchs, they own the media. And this problem has now become so big, so they are producing a discourse which is essentially powered by money, and it is not credible. So the West has to look at the levels of inequality, the levels of poverty, even though they are such rich countries. They are pointing to China and they are saying, oh, look, you are not practicing human rights. China has lifted so many people out of absolute poverty, where, we have indigenous communities here which do not have clean drinking water. This is a scandal, and it has existed for decades.
The federal government promised to eliminate all boil water advisories on First Nations in this country by next month. Dozens of communities do not have safe access to clean drinking water.
I think there are lots of people in Western countries and in the world as a whole who are aware and who are not easily taken over by these stories. So they dominate the news, they dominate the mainstream media, but the mainstream media itself is questioned by a lot of people.